How's the week going?
I think we're back on a schedule.
It only took a month into the new year, but I think that's pretty
But
good. I'm with
that's
it.
pretty good. Yeah, that's okay.
The editing is just right behind, so it's coming along. There'll
It's
be
like a
a
thaw.
new episode coming out probably tomorrow.
It's like you just needed to thaw from all that ice fishing that you were doing with your hands. You needed to thaw your hands
You
so you
know,
could clickety clickety click.
you're from a northern climate, and I now live in a northern climate. So you should know what an ice dam is on your roof,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I tell you, I win the prize for the biggest ice dams of the block. I think all my
Mm.
neighbors would be jealous, except for the fact that they are not things you want on your roof.
Well, so
you know,
is that maybe explain? Is that sort of explained like by are you not heating the house enough to melt things?
well,
And that's why there's more piling up and it's just not.
no, it's probably more of the effect. We don't heat the house a lot, like overheat. We're not like we're still young enough where it's not an 80-degree thermostat. But
No,
no offense to those who
I'm
like
not
it hot,
saying 80.
but it's more of a factor of um, the insulation in the attic, which I got to continually work on. So the heat is just leaking through the roof and then melting the
Oh, okay.
snow and then forming ice. And then it's melting again and then creeping into the building. So that's not good. It's building science,
Mm,
right? These are all the things that I try
right.
and teach people. And like a living example
For
of
those who are
building
watching,
science.
as yeah, yeah, for those who are watching as opposed to listening, or those I should say listening as opposed to watching, if you've got it on your on the True podcast, this is episode 194. Yeah,
194.
194. But we're in the green room, so we're talking about building science, Kurt's house, and the fact that I can see like his breath because it's so cold. He doesn't heat his house, folks. He's send Kurt a sweater. He needs a blanket. And he's pointing to the sign. It's sort of the proof of life image
Send
that he's
help.
got on his whiteboard. Um, he's like, it's
Uh,
cold in here.
it's been cold. Yeah, it's been cold. It, we're all welcoming spring in this part of the country. We're looking
It
forward.
got to 80 this week.
Oh, how nice for you.
Yeah, not like I don't know if it was Puxatawny Phil or if there's Texas. They have like an armadillo that they bring out and show him the sky, and I
he
don't know if he
rolled.
rolls over in his ball or there's there might have
Yeah.
been tacos. There might have been tacos and tequila involved. I don't know. So,
I'm with.
but
I could be behind that. I grew up on the East Coast. Punxsutawney Phil is like, you know,
you're like, that
I mean,
has been.
he's a has been as accurate as the weather people are anyway. So whatever. um, you know, yeah. I don't even. Yeah. And then when you're in the Midwest, it's just there's no there's no there's no hope coming from Pennsylvania, right? You don't put your chips on that on the category that Punxsutawney Phil is going to be accurate because in 6 weeks there'll be 6 more weeks of winter in the Midwest. So, but there might be little gaps in between where things get a little nicer. But anyway, so do you want to talk about any Super Bowl happenings now, or do you want to wait till the full
Oh
formal
no, I think
episode?
we need to wait to yeah, we need to wait for the episode because I mean, normally, folks, this would be the part where we do our little side quest and start talking about sports. And as we discussed in the last episode, Kurt has been duly notified and warned that Major League Soccer season is about to start. So, for those who watch the podcast, I'll probably start wearing soccer related things again because it's that time of year. Um, but but in the midst of all that, we have to get through the other football, and we will get that in the main episode
Yeah,
here in a moment.
yeah.
Um, so, any other kind of green roomy chit chat news
Well,
that you got?
well, there's one sportsy thing that we could talk about that I just that
Oh,
the news is out now, just came out. Is that the Detroit
the
Tigers?
Olympics?
No, well, no. We could talk about that too, but I haven't followed enough yet. Although we should wrap up this podcast episode quickly so that we can get back to our Winter Olympics.
Oh
But
yeah, we got to get to the Winter Olympics coverage. That's our other podcast, folks. So keep going, Kurt.
no, for Michigan, Michiganders and Detroit Tiger fans, Justin Verlander has signed a 1-year contract back with the Tigers after spending so many seasons down by you in Houston, right? And the Astros. Yeah, yeah. Detroit Tigers.
Boo, Astros.
Well,
Yay, Tigers.
We got Verlander back up here in Michigan. So maybe he just wants to retire as a Tiger. So who knows? Next year, baseball. We might be talking more baseball in a few months
Oh, okay.
because the
Well, I
pitching.
mean, I don't mind that. Like, yeah, as long as I
But
can just say, like, we all really don't like Houston, then um, in any sport.
well, the one thing I would say, to be agnostic about Texas is Houston
Mm,
Astros. I think is one of the coolest
no,
mascot concepts, right? Because of the space.
no.
I mean, you're a space fan, right? The Astros.
I mean, I love the space. I know.
You still can't root for
Well,
that.
except can't. No, I can't. It's because it's
Wow,
Houston.
wow, that's strong,
Um,
strong.
yeah, it's really strong.
The
Yeah, it
Astrodome
is.
was cool architecturally.
Architecturally, can appreciate the eighth wonder of the world. I can go there. I mean, the architect in me can go there. The Texan in me, I can the adopted Texan, naturalized Texan. I can go there for that. But don't I love the museums. I love me some Manil. I mean, like, I will go to the Drawing Institute. Took you to the Drawing Institute. Um, you know, but don't make me root for any Rothko Chapel. I could do Rothko Chapel. But don't make me.
But you're creating quite
Don't make me.
a strong list of pros
I know.
versus cons.
Well, but the thing, all those things I can go visit, and I don't even have to stay there.
I
All
see.
right, I can
Get
make
in,
a
get
road
out.
trip.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anywho, win one for Detroit, and what was the other? Now
NASA, they got NASA. They got NASA there. I mean,
yeah,
there's all kinds
yeah.
of good stuff.
And then you're like a little hop over to Galveston, where we spent the
Galveston's fun.
2017 or 18 conference, the Texas conference that
I want to say 18.
yeah,
Right, 18.
I think it was 18. Yeah, but anyway, that was it's kind of fun. Anyway, I forgot already my other sports related thing, so it may come back to me. But as far as baseball is concerned. Tiger fans are
So,
hopefully
okay.
a little happier today.
So what does a Michigander do when they are talking baseball and also talking about the map? Like, if they've got their glove on and they got the mitten, which do they defer to one or the other? Like, how does that work? Is
Well,
there confusion in the brain?
well, we don't. When you're
Like,
in,
what if
when you live here,
I
you
mean,
don't
so
use your hand to explain to other people from here. It's only to outsiders.
mm. Oh, so
But
it's only away games. It's only for the away games.
the lower peninsula would be a left-handed player's glove hand, right? Because it's the right hand.
Oh, okay.
The
So
upper
are
peninsula
you going to
becomes
go there?
the left hand. So a right
Is
hand.
this like is this against the lefties now? Is you're saying that the lefties are
No,
they're just
the lower peninsula
they
is the right.
because there's few of us.
Some people do the
There's few of
backside
us
now,
that like. Oh, there you go.
So there's like, it could be ambidextrous, but I don't know if our fans really care that much, Jamie.
No, I
about
know. That's
about the
true. That's
mitten
true. I know.
the mitten state. Well, maybe some, right? Some of the students probably
Um,
probably on board. Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
hadn't thought about the ambidextrous and the flip in the mitten.
That's
So
right.
all these things, so many images in my brain.
The students is what I was thinking about, Jamie, is we're still deep in the diagrams. We're starting to see some progress, and they're getting really close to moving into a building design. So, if you have any words of wisdom as we move into the sketches, lay it upon.
I will just
put it out there.
I will just say that remember that Wu-Tang is for the children. So, and then we can go from there.
Okay. I like that. Well, we'll see how that lands. I will bring it up in class. You caught me way off guard with that one. That was good. Oh man. So do you want to go into the episode then? Because we said we're going. Okay.
I think it's time. It's time.
Well, hey Jamie, how goes it?
Welcome to the show.
That's right. The show.
All is good.
The actual show.
The show. The actual show. This is episode 193, folks.
94.
And 194. Yes.
It doesn't matter though.
Because we're on a roll.
What's a number? What's a number?
Exactly. I mean, this could be episode 1 for somebody who just found us.
That's a good point.
And we're so glad you did.
That is a good point. And if this is the first time, welcome. We should do a little bit more of that, be a little more
welcome.
I think people pick up on the fact that we're pretty inviting, but you don't want to assume ever, right?
No. So. No, and it is a new year, and you and I have been talking kind of offline a little bit about some AIA stuff, our American Institute of Architects, of which both of us are members, since we're both architects. Myself in Austin and Kurt in Flint, Michigan. If you need a map of where Flint, Michigan is, go back to the green room and listen to that whole exchange. Get out your baseball mitt. And if you're a left-hander like me, who played as a righty, then it's all good. you're totally fine. But if you're a lefty like my dad who played, then on away games you are hosed if you have to try and explain where you live on the mitten, because it's a whole thing. Michiganders, you guys are great. Love you.
You know, when the geography matches the biology, that's a good one, right?
Did you play baseball like
I
growing
did.
up?
I did
Okay.
until high school, and I switched over to running track. But yeah,
Okay.
I like I enjoyed I enjoyed youth baseball. Let's say that. And then when it didn't get as fun, or when it wasn't as fun, I guess I had to hang up the mitten, the cleats, the mitt, whatever.
Same. Same.
And you know, Charlie, our musical creator for us, my brother, has he's
Hmm.
now coaching his son's baseball, and he's deep in the organization. So I think he's
Ooh.
essentially the
Ooh.
commissioner. So he's
Is
working.
it like Moneyball? Has he gone? Has he gone?
I think this generation of youth players is Moneyball. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So like,
a lot of
so
influence.
there's a draft, and like he's weighing the stats, and he's like, I want so and so, and I'll trade you like some coffee and some scones and tacos for your child to be on my team. I need a designated hitter.
There is some negotiation for sure, and I'm I'll leave it at that because I think
I'm sure there is.
he can elaborate. But yeah, so the tradition is strong,
I
continues
don't really
on
need
to
him
the
to.
next generation. So
Yeah.
um, before we do you want to talk about a little bit of Super Bowl before we talk about coffee, or do you want to talk about coffee then talk about Super Bowl, then talk about some sketches? What do you feel?
Well, I was just gonna say about the AIA stuff, though, before I completely sideways on us, went about the mitten, was, this is a very quick shout out opportunity, to friends, and colleagues, and then a lot of folks we don't even know, who just got elevated to fellowship. So kind of the highest distinction, of an individual member. I believe it's like less than 3% of the membership, um, is elevated to fellowship, um, um, by the American Institute of Architects. So those are the folks that you see where it says FAIA, after their name. So congratulations to all those folks, a lot of whom Kurt and I have separately relayed our congratulations to. But this is always sort of kind of a fun time of year to um, see who's doing what. All the good stuff is that, as both of us have talked about in the past, when you get to serve, in your profession, sort of the servant leadership role, and you get to maybe even be a part of one of those committees that reviews things like that. This is when you get to see all the good news, right? You get to see all the great things that a lot of other people are doing, all across the country. And so, kudos to y'all. Congratulations. And looking forward to seeing everybody in San Diego, um, where Kurt and I will likely start plotting and scheming immediately after this episode about how we're going to do coffee sketch, walking tour, drinks on Kurt. Sorry.
It is probably my turn. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it'll be fun. So be on the lookout for news of that.
Yeah, there's as every year goes by, there's like two or three close friends that make fellow, and then a bunch more that we are friendly and acquaintance with. But um, you know, it's a good crowd, and so I'm excited for those that did make it this
Well, I will
year.
say one that hopefully you saw, because both you and I have followed in her footsteps a little bit, um, as doing some servant leadership work with NCARB on behalf of AIA. So Gianna got it. I don't know
Yeah,
if you saw that, Gianna.
I saw. Yeah,
So that was exciting. Very happy for her. She's done a ton of stuff,
yeah,
and both within her firm and sort of in her practice, and sort of locally, in Dallas, being a great mentor for a lot of folks. But then also sort of nationally, I think it's the work that she's done, both with the AIA but also with NCARB, in sort of that servant leadership role, trying to build that bigger pipeline, and finding ways literally through licensure to do that, I think is pretty wonderful. So congratulations to her. So I wanted to quickly shout that one out. But I know that, yeah, as Kurt said, there's other good friends that got it, and we're happy for y'all.
yeah. I mean, we can probably unpack that in future episodes. Probably bring some of these friends on as guests and celebrate them a little bit more, and then convince them to provide us a sketch. So they have to do work to
Oh
join
yeah, that'd
the
be fun.
podcast.
We can put it on your whiteboard behind you.
Yeah, I know. Well, replace this sort of scary help. This is more of a test.
Yeah,
This is to make sure that it's spelled in the or it's not mirrored in the wrong direction for Jamie. For those
I
that are
think
watching,
I
if
think
you're
Kurt's
listening, you
basically.
might not understand.
I think Kurt just wants art for the walls in his new office. So
Yeah,
join us on the podcast. Give Kurt some free art, and we can talk about it. Maybe buy you a cup of coffee. So
always accepting free art. Yes. So then now back to the order of operations. Did you want to go coffee Super Bowl sketch or Super Bowl coffee sketch? So it's coffee first. You got the Mardi Gras. Okay, so you go community coffee.
I
Got
know
it.
it's that time. It's that well, it's that indulgence that I do every February, where community coffee leans into its New Orleans heritage, and then actually comes up with the Mardi Gras blend, which is just screaming to me on the shelf, like when I'm in the store. Like it just like I tell myself every year, I know it's coming, and I see it, and I can't help myself, have to get at least a bag. Um, and it basically tastes like a cinnamon roll in a bag,
I
and
mean,
there's nothing wrong with that.
it does. Yeah, I can't find anything else to say wrong. To say a thing against that.
So cheers.
Yeah, and yeah, NPR, they actually had a little story today about recipes for king's cake. So it's that time of year.
Mm.
And so I don't think I'm gonna try and get in, dabble. I'm not a great baker because I don't follow recipes very consistently. But
Ooh.
we're in that season.
You're like one of those, like, I'd rather play chef. I'd like to cook and sort of experiment in the skillet versus following the directions that is required in the scientific experiment that is baking.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Cannot. Nope. Yep. It's we all have our strengths, and that is not one of them for me. But for
Yeah,
me,
my my dad my dad feels very seen in this moment.
and so for me, I'm drinking the remaining last little bit of the Cafe Bustelo, the Cuban coffee.
Ooh.
Although based on this Super Bowl halftime show, I think some Puerto Rican coffee is in order. Anything to celebrate our part of the country. As in, I mean,
Well, I mean,
a territory that is America. And so celebrate what
well,
they have to offer.
yeah, I mean, you know that America is actually like a continent or two. Like
Yeah,
the Americas
I know.
might have had a roll call on Sunday,
Yeah,
which was kind of great.
it
So
was it was all good. But yeah, it's and some of my culture, your culture, got a shout out,
mhm.
because we're all in
Got a
America,
little shout out. Yeah.
and it was so much fun. And honestly, I've never wanted to be anything in Halloween more than I want to be a grass person.
Ooh. Ooh.
I've never wanted a Halloween costume more. I swear. I saw them, setting up. Oh my gosh. I'm in. I'm all in. That's it.
You just you just wanted to be near Pedro Pascal and Jessica Alba, like in the grass next to
Yeah. Trying, just being, you know.
yeah.
The discipline. I mean, I don't want to make fun of it. The discipline of that troop. I did see a thing, you know how they did little breakdowns of Super Bowl shows and the logistics. I like the logistics because we're architects, right? And
Right.
apparently they're limited to 25 carts, so wheeled objects that can be pushed out onto the grass so that they don't damage the turf for the players. And that's why, one of the reasons why the grass people exist, because that limited the amount of axles that could roll across the field. So they just had a bunch of people, running in costume,
No, I mean,
which is a great.
this makes perfect sense, and well, and that's a level of detail, folks, that comes with the Coffee Sketch podcast, is that Kurt's doing the reading that I'm not doing about that logistics. However, I will point out to the fans of this show, who have listened to all the previous episodes, that this time of year, we have done a logistical discussion, artistic discussion, musical discussion, art and influence and architecture influence discussion of past Super Bowl halftime shows, including those by Rihanna, Kendrick, and Dr. Dre. So there is that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, essentially, I don't want to add. I don't need to add too much more, but it was a lot of fun to watch, and uh, just a super creative uh, collection of visual or visual cues, right? And and so I couldn't even pick. Well, there's probably a couple aspects. These little vignettes, right? If you looked at the way it was kind of collectively created, it was like these vignettes that are so personally associated, right? Or have this personal touch to them. That Bad Bunny is is from, right? The Puerto Rican community. Um, and I think that's what created this such a sense of authenticity to the show. Obviously, also the fact that like a actual wedding occurred during the halftime show, that was one of these vignettes, which is just it's just so mind blowing, so much fun. I mean, who could complain? It's just so much
Yeah,
fun to watch.
no, absolutely. Yeah, I was texting with friends kind of, immediately afterwards, and then it I think one way that I tried to describe it was, it had such a cinematic quality. It was, I mean, for folks like myself who, understand the minimal Spanish, and certainly not, when it's being sung. Um, you're basically watching a foreign film, right? And you're watching sort of these, like you said, you described it correctly, these little vignettes. And uh and if you're paying attention at all, where some of these vignettes are sort of being tied to, and aspects of culture. The electrical poles, talking about Puerto Rico, and just all these sort of wonderful, you know i- ways to kind of create a narrative, but at the same time, you know, hella music, the just the joy of that kind of a performance, kind of drawing you in, everybody wants to dance to it. That's just, it's not, um it's authentic. It just, that's, I think, the way you described it is even better. And we'll talk about it a little bit more when we kind of get to the sketches, but yeah, so good. Sunday was so good. Game, kind of meh,
Well, well,
but
yeah. I mean, we joke, we jump right into the halftime show, but as a Trojan, as a USC alum, I was very happy to see Sam
mm,
Darnold, the quarterback. Not just Sam. There was three guys on defense, so four teammates total on Seattle that won the Super Bowl. That were all USC football players, and one of which, came away with the pick six, which kind of sealed it up for Seattle. And the it's it's exciting to see Sam Darnold, not just because he was a Trojan, but also because he's had a rocky career path through the NFL and then has accomplished the Super Bowl. So um, I was rooting for Seattle. I mean, probably just primarily because of my fellow Trojans on the field, but um, yeah, it was quite a defensive game for the first half. You know, I mean, the kicker scored
oh
more points than anybody. So, you know,
yeah,
I will say though,
busiest guy on in the
yeah,
game plan.
my one of my coaches once said that offense is fun, flashy, can win a game, but defense is what wins championships. And so I think that was pretty much
And
on
your
display on Sunday.
and your coach was Ray Lewis.
I wish we would have won more games in high school if
Mm.
but yeah, luckily I was able to go pro in architecture instead of football. I chose chose
Point to Kurt.
chose the right career path. So let me see. You want?
So so should we move to the sketches? Is
Yeah,
it time?
yeah. I think so because we've got two, and I'll lean on you for a little bit of the transition, but I think there's some connection across the two, um, thematically, um, and it could be well, it's not could be, it's definitely something that will pick up for those that watched the live stream of the last episode, or if you're listening in sequence from 193 to 194. There's going to be, I think, a segue that makes total sense in these sketches. But I don't know if you want me to say anything first, or if you want to do any introduction.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I'll definitely dig into it, but I'd love for you to talk about the first one, sort of your impression of it. For just to kind of preface for folks who are joining us maybe for the first time, we haven't done this kind of a discussion in a little while, but Kurt generally curates the sketches that I've been doing of late. And we of course dialogue back and forth about how we might pair some of them if we're going to do more than one in a particular episode. And to his point, if you like the kind of content and conversation that this episode has, definitely go back and listen to the one before it as well, because you'll probably get a different flavor of the way that we talk about things. Last episode we talked about sort of connections to film and architecture, but also to present day current events and sort of interpretations of that. And these ones will have a little bit of a similar vein.
Yeah, so I guess I can do a little description of what from my perspective of the two that we show. Right on the left, we have um, a, a really nice collage. I mean, which is interesting. I'll say from the sketching history of the podcast. Jamie doesn't necessarily always do a lot of characters in detail. Usually they're a lot more abstracted, which I'm kind of finding very engaging about this version or this sketch here, because it's you have a community of of people in particular silhouette, light line work, and then you have a very bold image of an officer with lots of military garb and protection, I guess armoring or whatever they call those, that sort of stuff, uniform, and then you can sort of see that there's an ice badge on the front of the image. And then so there's this contrast between what's kind of bolded on the page and then the multitude of faces that are also on the page. And so it's not like a one's more valuable or more important to the image or not, but the contrast, I think, is what's striking. The many faces and the one sort of officer, in anonymous officer. I think that's what you could read into it a little bit about someone with a mask or sunglasses, sort of trying to create some anonymity, and then the faces, full faces of a diverse population that are just trying to exist, right? And so maybe there's I guess I'm speaking a bit allegorical of the conditions that exist in this country right now, but it's very well captured in Jamie's sketch. And then so this one was pulled from maybe a week or two ago, I think, around that time frame. It's relatively recent. And then but then to the right side of the screen, um, uh, uh, a very close up image of the Statue of Liberty. All, and actually, there's somebody inside the crown for the observation deck. I could see a silhouette, which is a little bit more recent. I think it's within the past few days, right? And so as we've sort of went from, say, pre Super Bowl, if you use that as a time stamp, and then post or current events, and I mean I'll just say, and I'll stop and I'll let Jamie kind of chime in. But the because I don't know, I struggle right now with talking about this, and I don't really know, talking about current events. It's difficult for me, um, and I don't know why. Um, and but anyway, I'm trying, because I don't think saying nothing is going to be the right path. And I think with my own family's immigrant heritage, I think there's lots that come up that I have sort of filed away for many years, that are now being sort of ripped open in a way through all the goings on. But then these sketches, I think I look at them always still with a very positive mind, or an out sort of mindset, because of the I know Jamie in that he doesn't draw things to incite, but more to shed light, I think, on the conversation, right? And as architects, since we are architects, I think we're still very much an optimistic bunch of people, and we always want to see the good things that exist rather than the negative things. But sometimes you got to talk about the tough stuff. So anyway, I'll
Well,
lob it back to you.
and I will just say that, well, and I'll say, I am so lucky to have you in my life as the hype man that you often are, unexpected. But yeah, I think you describing sort of the sketches and sort of my perspective is trying to find some light to shed on subjects that are hard and dark and difficult, and sort of the world that we're confronted with and dealing with, and perspectives that we both have, and the people around us, and yeah, I think that both of these sketches, I'm glad that you sort of put it in that sort of context of time stamping things, sort of about 2 weeks ago, and one that's far more recent. But as as Kurt describes the many faces on that aren't covered in the first sketch, I think it's a very apt description of it for those who aren't necessarily seeing it on the screen and are just listening to us. If you can, when certain events happened in Minnesota of late, and I was trying to think of how do you describe, a multilingual, multicultural country that I've grown to love. How do you do that in an image? And one of the first things that I thought of was in 2018 when I was in New York City, the same time that Kurt and I ended up birthing the idea. Kurt birthed the idea. I might have been the sounding board for this particular podcast. The same day that happened, earlier in the day, I had gone and done a tour of the United Nations. Always had wanted to go to the United Nations. Had seen it from the outside, had never gone to the inside, had never done the tour. One of the beautiful things about going to an architecture conference is sometimes you get those back of house opportunities. And so that was when I saw that as an opportunity to get inside and have that back of house experience. I was like, yeah, that's absolutely the place that I need to go to. If for those, shout out to all those Model UN folks in 7th and 8th grade that did that with me. You know who you are in Tennessee. But yeah, so going to the United Nations and sort of seeing, where all of these wonderful things, transpired, where all these nations try to come together, in a conversation, kind of I'll put that to the side for a second. But in doing it, these buildings also have a beautiful, rich architecture history. They also have a beautiful and rich art history, and a world art history. And one piece that I was not expecting to see in the lobby of one of those spaces was a mosaic that was paying homage to Norman Rockwell's The Golden Rule. So Norman Rockwell did a painting called The Golden Rule, and it was a picture that ended up being in a Sunday magazine, cover shot. I forget which. It's like the New York Post or whatever, one of those kind of Sunday Reader kind of magazines, kind of large format but the whole image is just this sort of sea of faces, and everybody is clearly a little bit different, and but they all make this beautiful mosaic, quite literally, of America. And some are wearing more native garb, but some are just the faces are all there and they're all staring back at you, right? And so that image is is one of his most famous paintings, and was consumed by a popular media audience as sort of a newspaper, kind of almost a throwaway Pulp Fiction type cover shot. It was a painting, and I didn't know that it had been reinterpreted as a mosaic in the UN, and gifted by actually Nancy Reagan, and during the Reagan administration or whatnot, to the United Nations. And it's quite large. I mean, it's big. It's a really big mosaic. It's like when you think about sort of that painting, I'm not even sure how big the painting is, but I'm imagining just sort of a normal canvas. But the mosaic is huge, and uh, and it's Venetian glass. It's real Murano glass from Venice, and it's a beautiful piece in and of itself. But then you have all these faces, and it just sticks. It just stuck with me. Just that image just sort of stuck with me. And so as I'm struggling to kind of get an image of America that I want to draw, um, that's what I centered on. And as I've done in previous sketches, through November, December into January, this juxtaposition of this concept of who watches the Watchmen, these unarmed or not unarmed, these masked agents, that have this anonymity, in a amidst the populace. It's hard to digest. It's visceral, and so trying to get that down on the page to both record it, but to try and help myself process it a little bit, and to Kurt's point, to have a little bit of hope for it too. That all these faces staring back at you, kind of, that's who we are as Americans, and as citizens of the world, and sort of, and in thinking about human rights, which is something that the UN championed, through Eleanor Roosevelt and all those folks. So it's I a lot to unpack, clearly, but it's again, it's one of those images that you get down on a sketchbook, because you're trying to process this thing. And Kurt's description of it is very, very accurate. The image of the armed agent, with tactical gear, covered up, is rendered, very boldly, intentionally, so that it clearly stands in front of this image, almost to the point of disregard, for the populace that's clearly present, and in a sense almost unafraid, or um, you know bearing witness to kind of what's going on. And I think that was just something that I was grappling with, in the sketch. And this is, all the faces are, based on that drawing, um, and it's not even all of them, but it was something that was a challenge, and one that I'm glad that I took on.
Yeah, and I had to remind myself a little bit of the mosaic at the UN. I mean, it's been, for me, it was it was a long time ago. I didn't go during the conference when you went, um, and but yeah, the concept behind the sketch, yeah, it's great, and kind of like the sort of unfortunate modern spin, um, of current events, I suppose. And not, not an unfortunate sketch, but the rendering of what it depicts. But so Lady Liberty then, um, how does that in your mind sort of contrast or reflect on the situation, um, from
Well,
your point of view?
it was, um, yeah. So um, one of the songs that I recognized in the halftime show is sort of Bad Bunny's sort of homage to New York.
Hmm.
And so I heard that, and um, and then sort of did my own little deep dive on it, because and you sort of see the bodega and you see all the other kind of images sort of kind of interspersed, kind of amidst the show as you were describing earlier. And when I heard that track, kind of amidst the set list, I thought, yeah, New York, like, how fitting, for this halftime show to have that song in it. Of course, it's going to be in one of his, kind of current, but it, the image in my mind, kind of amidst all this um, description of kind of America and immigration, and then the roll call at the end of the halftime show, of all the countries. It's what's the symbol of that for our country? Like, what is it? It's the Statue of Liberty. It's that, even if not everybody came in through that location, that statue, the gifting of it. I mean, it's gift. We didn't even make it, right? It was gifted to us, as a country. This is knowing your history, and in doing that, and sort of doing a little bit of that deep dive too, which I think is sort of akin to artists today like Bad Bunny and whatnot, who are trying to do the work and trying to learn a little bit about the history of how their culture maybe intersects with certain things that are going on today. He's talking about his native, Puerto Rico, and trying to and be an ambassador of it, and emblematic of, why that's important to him, as an individual. I mean, he didn't do any shows in the United States. He did a residency in Puerto Rico last year for a reason, right?
Hmm.
He didn't do any, stateside in any of the 50 states. He could have done a tour that made $1 bajillion, but decided not to do that and did a residency in Puerto Rico. And that's somebody who's trying to think through kind of where we are and who he is in that mix, and that he actually does for that song, that is his homage to New York, his kind of love letter to the city, has this image, of the Statue of Liberty in it, for a brief moment. But it also has the Puerto Rican flag kind of draped across, almost like a headband, on kind of the brow of Lady Liberty. And I didn't realize it, but in sort of, hearkening back to that image and kind of looking at it, um, it's literally, almost one of those sort of filmatic, film kind of things that you and I appreciate, that shot for shot, where it's, in 1977, there was 30 Puerto Rican protesters, who took over the Statue of Liberty, much like many groups have done, to, gain attention to a particular cause, related to freedom or related to liberty or related to human rights. And so, you know, I appreciate that as an artist, and, I'm glad that I found that and kind of understood that. It's more enriching for me. And so, yeah, that roll call made me think of the Statue of Liberty. When I did my own deep dive, I felt vindicated, that it all sort of linked up really great, kind of with the work that he's doing, and sort of the imagery, that homage to New York, in that video is also about sort of the wedding, right? And it's that, that church basement kind of thing that, if if you've ever been to that family wedding, it's just all those things that so many people can relate to. That it's yeah, just you know you know gave me a moment to do a drawing like this.
Yeah, and I just add that growing up on the East Coast, I think we the New York is like has always been like the melting pot or the example of the melting pot of different cultures all coexisting. And it's one of the reasons I still love the city. Um, since I grew up so close to it, there's a lot of uh, frenzy about it too because it's a very dense and very busy city. So if you're not ready for the speed of it, um, it can overwhelm you pretty quickly. But you go a few blocks here, a few blocks there, and you're crossing over all kinds of different cultures, and it sort of reflected a lot of um, the various people I grew up with, in Connecticut. Although Connecticut gets kind of a very different perspective because the stigma or the stereotype of Connecticut is not the same across the entire state. But anyway, that's another. We can unpack that further later. But the proximity to New York, it changes, and the yeah, the sketch is great. The Statue of Liberty, it's sort of embedded with all that, and it, you know, it I guess I lost the train of thought there, but I still think the tie-in. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I remembered now. It's the symbolism, not just symbology, but symbolism, right, of various cues, right? Whether it's within, the form factor of the Statue of Liberty or the colors on the flag, right? Like if maybe if you haven't read this part yet either, sort of recapping um, the significance of say the light blue of Lady Gaga's dress and the original Puerto Rican flag, which is a light blue, not a dark blue like the U.S. flag, right? And those little details, I love to learn about because it hopefully it can translate into how I teach students to think about, especially right now with our emphasis on diagramming, right? How do you convey the information without having to be so over complicated about it, right? So anyway, those are the things that
Well,
I think kind of hold in.
it's can you yeah, it's can you tell a story? Can you spin a yarn? Can you create a performance? Can you create sort of an event that has nuance? That there is sort of a surface reading of it, but even in that surface reading, there's more to it. And for a lot of us, it's choosing to do the work of looking into it, of thinking about it. Um, but as you say, I think that it's a way to think. And for me, as I tried to describe these two sketches, it's hopefully giving some insight of how I'm thinking through kind of thoughts in my head and wanting to get them down on the page, even if they're difficult. And one can appreciate the sketch just for what it is, and maybe glean some interpretation from it. But then at the same time, there are other layers, and I think that art as sort of a larger conversation And then architecture amidst that as maybe the greatest art, right? Architecture. Um, kind of gives us that chance to explore some of these ideas that you're discussing with your students. From a diagramming, process driven, design oriented, iterative process. Um,
Yeah, and I'll just say one last thing, um, which is what after 8 years of looking at sketches together, um, it sort of dawned on me how uh, subliminally the topic or the aspect of uh, how can you convey that narrative like you were talking about without words, so using the drawing, right, using the imagery to speak the language rather than the portray. So I've been trying to really emphasize to my students, can you take away detail, right, like text or any narrative or data, and the diagram still reads, right? So it's about like the sort of distilling and peeling away. And aside from the little ice logo that you put on the sketch today, I mean, we could go back every week or every episode, and I doubt there's a handful of words across 8 years in your drawings. And so hopefully maybe
well, well, no, it's so astute to kind of pick up on that piece, and I wasn't gonna mention it unless you noticed it. Um, but yeah, I don't put a lot of words in the drawings, generally speaking. And in this one, I almost didn't put that word in there. I was like, can I draw it
Mhm.
without it? And I was like, no, I really have to put it on there, and um, not out of like fear or anything like that. It just was like, no, I need to really write this down, and but yeah, it did give me a moment to think about it, and does it make the drawing more impactful or less, with or without it? Mm, I'll leave that up to the viewer to decide. But yeah, I did it this time. So
So yeah, well, thanks. I think it's a great contrast or comparison of images this week, and I think it's going to be a process for us, um, if we discuss the subject matter in more detail. But at least it, we're in it, right? And so yeah, thanks, Jamie.
thanks, Kurt. Always.